might leave home. So this first bit of the map of womanhood is the stage that your daughters, hopefully we'll be holding our daughters till. And so celebrating Girl Bloom, they're awakening, they're at this threshold, and celebrating it with them enables them to welcome their first blood, because they will be used to having being taught that changes are happening in their body. It's the beginning of the ebb and the flow of their cycle. They'll have all of that understanding, which will help them to welcome the first blood threshold and possibly want to have a menarche ceremony. Not all the girls have chosen that, and it seems like as the cycle regulates a year later, that's when a lot of them come back and say, actually, I would like to have a menarche ceremony. So that's there, and then then that journey of separation until you get to here, which is fruit mother, which means it's like the fruiting of our lives in terms of our dreams, or we might have had children, we might be beginning to have children, we might be so it could be the fruiting of our career or our travels, whatever it is. It's like the birthing of our dreams, because we've emerged and we're going out in the world with all of our dreams and all of our enthusiasm and for life. So this is like the creation of our garden, if you like, and what we want our lives to be. So you can see how important this, if it's held well, how good this journey out is going to be, you know. And I know my journey wasn't great. So yeah, just like that journey out is determined by how well this is held. And then the journey on from fruit mother, I'm using those words so you can remember them for your daughter. And then, so this is the journey here. So this bit is kind of like when we're in the throes of our lives. So it's spinning, it's blossoming woman, because blossoming is like the fullness of our lives, but we're also like juggling so much. So we're like, we might have had children, we might have had a career, a spiritual practice, you know, a relationship, you know, with a partner, and home life and cooking and cleaning. So we're kind of like in the throes, if you like, of our motherhood, or the throes of our life, and it's kind of like a bit of a spinning and a bit of a juggling act. And so we need a rites of passage, ideally before then, to bring the understanding that that's what life is like, you know, that we are constantly trying to keep up with ourselves, and to embrace the consciousness that comes from stepping into that, and allowing ourselves to be in that in a flow, not just kind of muddling through, if you like, you know, which is difficult. So, you know, none of these, I don't know if any of you here, but certainly all of the women I've worked with have never had a rites of passage ceremony for any of those, and they've got to here, and they haven't even had one for you know, apart from the act of giving birth, there was not really any recognition necessarily from the community or from your family that you actually needed to have a ceremony at that point as well to adjust to becoming a mother. So there's all of that there. And then, so the next one is Midwoman, and she is now at the beginning of her last blood. So here is the beginning of the first blood, and then opposite is the beginnings of the last blood, which, just like puberty can last 10 years, perimenopause and menopause can last 10 years. So it's not like an age thing necessarily, it's more like where you're at. So it's like perimenopause, and it's the time of like gathering our wisdom inside of us, because our blood is about to slow down. So that's like the gathering of all of the threads of our lives so far, reviewing how it's been for us and how we want this bit to be. How are we going to become the elders? How are we going to make that journey to elderhood in a good way? I know, by doing this, by giving back, healing this in ourselves, and giving back to our daughters so they have a good journey. That's how we become the wise elders of our communities, is by creating a legacy for our daughters, by holding them as much as we can through this bit, and also going back and healing this in ourselves so we can embrace our blood has stopped. We are now coming back to the earth, back to ourselves. You know, our hair is becoming really white, and our connection to spirit should be coming stronger then, whatever belief system you have, that journeying back to yourself after all this giving that you've been doing for everybody else. And it's like, wow, yeah, you get to this stage, it's like, I'm in my elderhood, you know, look at your life, how has it been? But if you do that here, in your menopause, around here, this should be a good time. This should be, you're ready to be conscious in your elderhood, because that's what the menopause is, isn't it? It's like a wake-up call to be, I can feel it in myself now, I'm perimenopause. So yeah, being conscious in your elderhood, and instead of, because a lot of the work I do with the Deepening Woman course is we go back and we give all the women the catch-up rites of passage that they didn't have. So we actually give ourselves the rites of passage together as women. Because then, well, the reason why I call it a map is because by healing the past rites of passage, you're creating a map for your future. You're actually recovering the past and healing the future, because what it does is it allows you to be conscious here because you weren't there. Conscious in terms of your development and what's happening in our bodies as women. And I've really, through working with this, I've really understood, you know, I do love a sweat lodge and a vision quest, but it's a really male way, because actually we have it anyway. Like, we are having a monthly vision quest. We are having menarche and menopause and birth. You know, these are our initiations. They're our challenges. They are what makes us strong, you know, and so bringing as much consciousness to those as possible. And so now I can see, okay, I'm going to be ready for my mid-woman. I'm going to be like, I'm in my menopause, everybody's got to celebrate me, and I need to rest. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, it's my time now, actually. I'm going to be conscious in my menopause. I don't want to, you know, I haven't been conscious in my bleeding until I was 40. So all of that wasted bleeding time where I could have been really, you know, going for it in the darkness, you know, in my vision quest, I didn't do that. I wasn't conscious when enough when I birthed. I was conscious, but I didn't have that rites of passage ceremony when I birthed my children, and I didn't have a menarche, and I didn't have a girl bloom. So I'm like, okay, now I'm ready for my menopause, and I'm preparing myself to let go of everything if I have to, and to not go running, screaming for the hills, which probably happens if you're not conscious, but actually choosing to walk calmly and steadily up the hill. Not like, ah! And yeah, just be really conscious with it, so that then I can be the elder that I want to be, and to give my legacy to the world before I get to here. So this is your spiritual elder. This is when you're preparing yourself for here. Yeah, so trying to have a conscious death, trying to be conscious of where you're at, and allowing yourself just to be in your elderhood so that people can come to you. And you're like holding space, you know, and actually anything that we didn't get to do, we can do now. You know, all of that thing, you know, we can really live our lives here and do all the things that we wanted to do, and prepare ourselves for the last threshold till we come back round again. And yeah, just being as conscious as possible. And that's why I feel it's a map, and I'm getting more and more guidance about how to make a map for your future by going back and looking at the thresholds you've already had, and what happened to you at those points, and what you didn't have, and how unconscious we were, because it's actually, yeah, quite a big thing. And then hopefully with the girls are having this, it will become part of their culture. Maybe not them, but their daughters or their children will have this, that they know, okay, so I'm going to be going through these changes next, and I'm ready. So this is the way your daughters are at. So this is what we're going to look at after lunch in ourselves. is that stage of life that we were at then. So I think before lunch then, so we don't want to start doing that because that would take a while. Let's everybody take a little piece of this.